Hello lovely people, it's another Q&A Friday. We've got a great episode for you today where we're answering questions from our lovely YouTube and Facebook followers. In today's video we are going to be answering questions about tone curves, second-hand equipment, and what's the point of using Photoshop when you can do a lot of editing in Lightroom. It's going to be a great tutorial. Let's go. Hello guys, I'm Mark Newton from the School of Photography, where we teach you the best in photography education. So we're going to answer some questions from our lovely viewers today. And the first one is from Dirty Dan, and he asks, so if you can change sharpening, saturation, etc. in Lightroom, then what's the point of Photoshop and vice versa when it comes to editing? Well, very good question, and it's one that a lot of people ask. And it basically breaks down like this. Photoshop is for heavy editing. You can do everything in Photoshop that you can do in Lightroom, in fact. But what you can't do in Lightroom that you can in Photoshop is that heavy editing or that fine editing that you might need in certain images. For instance, in this image here, there is a jetty on the right hand side of the image. Now I didn't want that in the shot. So in Photoshop, I removed it. So as you can see in this picture, there is nothing there. So Photoshop can do that. It can remove really large objects, really fine objects, and you can make it look like they was never there in the first place. So it's for really heavy editing purposes. And here's another example here. In this shot, I managed to smooth out the skin without losing the texture of the skin, and even without losing the freckles. Now, if you tried to do that in Lightroom, it would be a lot harder to do. I also managed to remove the green patch in the background. So that's what Photoshop is for. It's for that heavy editing of images or editing very fine details that you can't do in Lightroom. Lightroom is a digital darkroom. That's why it's called Lightroom, because it's like a darkroom but in the light. Whereas Photoshop is used for much more heavy manipulation of images, and in fact you do need to use both of them together if you want to be, well, professional photographer and you want to be starting to do, well, stuff like I've just shown you there. Okay, so I hope that's answered your question. The next question is from Dr. Amil Dev, and he says, hi Mark, I need some advice buying a used lens. What things should I look out for before I buy a used lens from somebody? And also, is it a good idea to buy a refurbished lens? Now, this is a really good question. Again, when you're starting out in photography, lots of people look to buy used equipment, and I have done that a lot over the years, and it's a really good idea. Now, buying refurbished stuff again is a good idea, but just make sure that whoever you're buying it from is providing you with a warranty for that equipment, and the longer the warranty, the better. If they're giving you a month's warranty with it, then I would sort of question that, to be honest. Normally it should be 3 months, 6 months. If you can get a year, that's really good. But ideally, these are the people that you want to be buying second-hand equipment of. The people that have got more money than sense, and there's lots of them out there. And what they do is they buy lots of expensive equipment, try to do photography, figure out how hard it is, and then sell it all again. I've bought equipment off of lots of people like that, and they are out there because, you know, photography's got this reputation of being easy and blah blah blah. So people buy expensive equipment, try to become photographers, it doesn't work out, and they sell it. Now they're the type of people that you want to be buying second-hand equipment of, because it will be near on brand new, hardly used, and hopefully a lot cheaper. So always ask how old the equipment is. ask if there is the original receipt, and ask how well used it's been. They're the three main questions to ask. Now, of course, people can lie to you, and this is going to have to be your judgment, I'm afraid, whether you think that it's genuine or not. And you're just going to have to judge that the best you can. But yes, it's a really good idea to buy used equipment as you're learning photography. And yeah, just look out for them things. I hope that's answered your question. Now, before we move on to the last question, I just want to tell you about the online courses we have over at theschoolofphotography.com. If you want to learn photography properly, then come over and see us. We are professional teachers. We don't just show you good stuff, we teach you how to do it properly. So come over to theschoolofphotography.com. We've got courses in photography, Lightroom, Photoshop, and a load of freebies that you can take to test us out first if you want to. Okay, let's go on to the last question. Okay, the next question is from Mallory Brady Cash, and they ask, I'm so intimidated by the tone curve. How do you know where to form the S? Now, curves can be really complicated, and actually they are quite a complicated thing to get to grips with. And if you're interested in learning about curves in depth, there is a whole tutorial that I've made on curves, and I'll put a link to it up here somewhere and in the description below, so you can go and see that if you want to. But the S curve is quite a simple thing to achieve and to do, and it gets you really good results. Now, I'm going to show you that right now in Lightroom. So let's go into Lightroom. So we're just going to use this image here. Now, over here on the right hand side, you can see tone curve. Now, if I click that on and off, you can see the difference that that tone curve is making. And it's very dramatic, but it's a very subtle movement on the curve. And I think this is what you're getting to. You find it intimidating because if you push up the curve too much, like what I'm doing now, it really pulls out the contrast. If I put it down like that, it really brings out the darks, and that's not what you want. Okay, so let's just double click back onto this region word here to set it back to normal. So that's the image now without the curve. So now let's show you how to create the S curve. It's really easy. All you do is grab a point on your curve line around about 3/4 up, and there's even a grid in the background, if you can see that grid, and that's a good indication of where to put your first marker, sort of around about here. Click on the line, pull it up, come down to the bottom section, again about 3/4 down, click on the line, pull it down, and what you've created there is a very slight S curve. Essentially what you're doing is, by pushing up in the top part of that line, you're increasing the highlights, and by pulling down in the bottom part of that line, you're intensifying the shadows, thus creating contrast across the image. And let's just have a quick look at the before and after. So that's without the curves, and that's with the curves. And all I've done is put a very slight S curve. And I recommend that you do that in all of your pictures, because it's a really great thing to do. Now, I hope that's answered your question. Don't forget, you can go to that tutorial and have a really in-depth information on what curves are and how to use them. Okay, I hope you've liked that video. If you have, please like it, please share it with your friends, and put a comment below if you want us to answer one of your questions. We love hearing from you. If you're watching this on Facebook, don't forget we've got a great YouTube channel. If you're watching it on YouTube, don't forget we've got a great Facebook page. And we also have a really good Instagram feed, so come over and see us there as well. Thanks for watching, and remember, learn more at the School of Photography.